a new type of Burma is already emerging, but that's not the kind of Burma that will ensure peace or stability in the future.
Myanmar could be heading for a major plot twist. After years of civil war between the military junta and resistance groups, the armed opposition have been gaining the upper hand as they captured swathes of territory. Here's what happened. Myanmar's military junta had ruled the country from 1962 to 2011, when it was officially dissolved following the 2010 general election, but still wielded considerable influence in government. In 2021, the military came back in true force. Led by this man, General Min Aung Hlaing. Under his leadership, the junta scrapped the results of the November 2020 general election, alleging electoral fraud, arrested then de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi, and initiated a state of emergency for a year. In response, lawmakers elected in 2020 set up the National Unity Government of Myanmar. Essentially a government in exile, it greenlit a people's defensive war against the military junta, calling on citizens to revolt against the rule of the military terrorists in every corner of the country. And a myriad of ethnic armed groups heeded its call. The armed opposition really picked up steam in 2023 when it launched a spring offensive, and gained further momentum in late October when the Arakan Army, Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army, and the Tang National Liberation Army, collectively known as the Three Brotherhood Alliance, launched a joint offensive, Operation 1027, challenging the junta's grip in the region. As they gained more territory near the border with China, other ethnic armed groups, like the Karenni National People's Liberation Front and the Kachin Independence Army, joined the fighting in a sort of revolutionary chain reaction. A battle with the junta then ensued for control of areas near Myanmar's borders, like the Thailand bordering Mayawadi, Shan State near the Chinese border, and in Rakhine State neighboring Bangladesh. Progress was helped in large part by how significantly the state of Myanmar's army deteriorated when enforcing the 2021 coup.
มันก็สะท้อนความอ่อนแอที่สะสมพอกพูนเรื่อยๆโดยเฉพาะขวัญและกำลังใจของกำลังพลนะครับเนื่องจากว่าหลังรัฐประหารมา3ปีแล้วนะครับเขากำลังพลเขาอ่อนล้าเหน็ดเหนื่อยแล้วยิ่งมีการแพ้หลายๆสมรภูมิรบเนี่ยก็ทำให้ขวัญและกำลังใจตกต่ำนะครับ
Now, more than half of Myanmar is under the rule of resistance groups, many of whom are tech-savvy. That's even though the junta is far better armed, with backing from Russia and indefinite support from China. The changing tide is unprecedented for the country of 55 million, where in 2024, 18.6 million people will be in need of humanitarian aid, and where 3 million people have already been internally displaced. A vast majority of them, around 2.7 million people, have fled their homes since the renewed conflict in 2021. It's now got Myanmar watchers wondering whether the country has a chance at tabula rasa, a blank slate, upon which they can build an ethno-federal state on the ashes of the Tatmadaw. Zarni, who has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize this year, told TRT World that he doesn't think that's possible.
One is, I will say, I 100% disagree with those who predicting the collapse of the Burmese junta. That's pie in the sky. The military has focused on defending the core of what they consider Burma, which is like the majority Burmese distributed areas, which happen to be largest towns and cities across the country. And that's about half the country. That's where a lot of the trading hubs are. Diplomatic missions are headquartered.
In other words, Myanmar's military still has control over the heartlands of the country, while various armed groups split by ethnicity have snatched the peripheral regions of the country.
The collapse is, in my view, not even conceivable because all the neighboring states immediate to Burma's borders, India, China, Thailand, Bangladesh, they're not prepared to allow the central organization of military, however criminal it is, to collapse.
Now, the Tatmadaw in its 2008 constitution explicitly forbids an ethno-federal system, but Zarni thinks something more sinister is brewing.
Because what's happening is, already fragmentation's happening because different regions have been snatched away from the junta's control. In the north with the Kachin, by the Kachins, and then in the west, which is next to India, Chin, and then then you've got the upper coastal strip of Burma adjacent to Bangladesh, where the Rohingyas were, slaughtered 7 years ago. And then it's happening along the Thai-Burmese borders with Karenni. So that is already happening. But majority of the leaders of these organizations are less interested in, post-junta federation. They are more interested in what you call statelets. They call it sub-states.
Zarni thinks the country hangs somewhere between the situation in Syria, where land control is split between various armed groups, and a quasi-Balkan scenario.
I think quasi-Balkanization because we don't have the prospect or possibility of new republics springing out of the scenario simply because it is extremely difficult to get state recognition within the current UN system.
With so many competing groups with various ambitions, is a blank slate a pipe dream for Myanmar?